Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest tonight is Ezra Claytan Daniels, who's, you probably won't remember any of this, but you were one of the first people I reached out to way, way back after Karen Green told me or hipped me to Are You at Risk for Empathy Myopia was
Oh wow, that's a
one of the
deep
things
cut.
that, yeah, it was one of the things that she was, I think, I'm just gonna look it up. We're gonna actually find out where Karen Green fell on the guest list. This is where it's advantageous that I name episodes differently if they're interviews versus other stuff. You're gonna be, I think, the 294th, 93rd or
Wow.
94th interview episode. Um, which is still weird to me. Particularly because we're only at like 220 weekly episodes. So it's like, wait a minute, how did this show that initially we didn't know if we were going to be doing interviews wind up having more interviews than weekly episodes?
Because interviews are
Um,
fun.
they are, but I didn't know that so many people would say yes. I mean, initially, because I people don't believe it when they only meet me. Karen was the ninth with Great Power episode.
Wow, that's early.
So it would have been that was in February of 2022. So that was around the first time that I reached out to you. And we went back and forth. And then you were the one that said, I'm busy, circle back at this time. And I forgot to circle back. And I circled back like 8 months later, and you were busy again. And then I
Well,
forgot to circle back.
man, well, we made it work.
But this time I happen to circle back the week before you have a book coming out. So
Yeah.
that's where we'll start here is give us the the front counter pitch for this
Mama
amazing
Came
new book of
Callin.
yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so bad at giving the pitch, but Mama Came Callin is a story about a young woman who survived an attempted murder when she was a little kid by a man who wore the hide of a dead alligator as a mask. And she survived the attack, and her dad was arrested for the attempted murder and spent the last 20 years of his life in jail. And he is released from jail and beelines it back to her with a message telling her that I'm not the one who tried to kill you. The people who did it are still after you and you're in danger. And then the next morning, he's found dead. And that's where the mystery kicks off, where Kira has to, the main character's name is Kira, and she has to figure out what her dad was trying to tell her, if he was lying, if he was just trying to cover his ass, or if there's other people that are actually out there trying to do something shady.
And this is where I have to really quickly for people who read monthly comics say, no, Ezra didn't ruin anything, even if you read the first 40 pages of this book and go, why did you tell me all of this stuff? There's still more twists
That's
and
just the
turns and all
beginning.
that sort of thing.
That's
It
the
is
hook
just the
in the
beginning,
beginning.
but
Yeah.
it's because you've got a layered beginning because you start with her and her mom, and then you go into the present day. So like I loved your beginning, which is why I was
Thank you.
shocked when you told us right away that dad said he hadn't done it. I'm like, I guess that is still the beginning. It's
I
just
think it's on the back of the book.
so
I think
much
that's
in
written on
it.
the back of the
That's
book.
possible. I haven't read the back of the book. I just read the pages, man. I don't even know if the back of the book is on the PDF I got sent.
Well, you can edit that part out of the interview. Maybe I did spoil it.
No,
Maybe it's not on the
no.
back of the book.
Well, no, because I mean, unless you decide that you want me to edit it out, I kind of
No.
like to have all of this stuff raw because that's part of uh, comics more than almost any other medium. I think people should temper their expectations, and I don't mean that in like the the let's keep our expectations low. I mean that in the I talked to Chris Ryle on Friday, and Chris Ryle adapted Megalopolis. Um, and one of the things that he and I both agree regarding the movie has been panned across the board is that really the problem is everybody went in going, "Oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece." So when it wasn't Apocalypse Now and it wasn't The Godfather, they're like, "What's going on here? I don't know what I'm watching." And they decided that it was bad because of that. Comics as a medium, like you can't go, "Oh, don't ruin anything," because, well, I mean, there's so many different ways to tell a story. There's so many
Yeah,
different, like, no matter what you think you know about a writer, no matter what you think you know about storytelling, like you're gonna enjoy it best if you just open it up and enjoy it rather than sitting there going, "I can't know anything," or "I must know things," or "it's gonna be like this." I don't know. Do you read a lot of weekly comics still?
I don't read a lot of weekly comics. I usually wait
Yeah.
for the graphic novel collections or just
Okay.
self-contained stories.
Have you gotten to see any of Dennis Camp's Assorted Crisis events?
No.
Okay, that's my big recommendation to everybody right
Okay.
now because, like, nobody, well, and the second big recommendation for anybody is also Dennis Camp. It's Absolute Martian Manhunter because with both books, he is using the medium itself to tell the story like every freaking issue. You know what I mean, one of the recurring gimmicks in Martian Manhunter is like you have to put the page up to the light
Oh, that's
to
cool.
get the whole thing.
I love stuff like that.
But like uh, each issue of Assorted Crisis Events is a one shot, one and done. Like the world itself is kind of defined, but beyond that, the stories, and they're just human stories, but they also like completely break all of the formula barriers.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah,
check that out. I like that.
yeah.
I like them being one and done stories. I think that's the big reason why I and probably a lot of people who feel daunted by getting into weeklies don't get in because
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
so much to get into. And I even have
Absolutely.
written a couple of things for I did a couple of things. I wrote a couple of things for Marvel. I did a Wolverine story and it was part of the Infinity Crisis, Infinity Crisis that came out last year, a couple years ago.
I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
But anyways, it was such a crazy experience because I hadn't been following the weekly stories, and there was so much leading up to this particular event that I just
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
aware of. So it
particularly
was
if you're in an event.
yeah, so I
Oh,
had so
Infinity
much
Watch, it
homework to
looks like.
do. Yeah, Infinity
I
Watch.
remember that. So you were in the annual.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did a Wolverine one shot. Yeah, the
I'll
Wolverine
have to go re
annual.
I'll have to go read that now.
But it was really fun. I mean, it was obviously a dream come true. And I did one of the stories for uh I don't know why I'm forgetting the title of these books, but I mean, in my defense, the titles for some of these Marvel event books can be a little repetitive and like if I'm
Well,
not
I mean,
following,
you
like
said
you just
Infinity. I'm like, which Infinity? And for a sec,
yeah, exactly.
for half a second, I thought of Final Crisis. I'm like, no, that's
No,
DC.
yeah. So that's in my defense. But the one I did, the
Infinity
other one,
Watch, Gauntlet.
yeah, how many are there? But I
I
did
don't
a
even know. I don't
Marvel
know.
voices.
I mean, I have Marvel Unlimited and I have DC Universe because I try to get as few physical Marvel and DC as possible at this point. I wait until I hear, "Oh, it's great," and then I
Yeah,
go read it because I just pay for the subscriptions.
that's smart. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes it's smart. Sometimes I go, "God, I've been paying $8 a month for both of these, and I don't think I've read anything on either of them for like 3 months."
Well, you have the option. It's nice to have the option.
Right. Yeah, and then I'll binge some. Then I'll spend read like 300 comics in a month, and I'll go, "Okay, now it was worth the
Yeah,
year."
now it paid for it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is another place where bantering too much before we start can make it hard because I'm so in media res that I'm trying to sit there going, okay, what do we need to say for listeners? Hi, Mom. Hi, Britt. Hi, Adam. Hi, John. That might be all of the. Oh, wait a minute. There's a guy named Chris that emailed recently. So hi, Chris. Um, there might be more listeners. I don't know yet. So if you don't get the bump that you were hoping for, my apologies. I will continue to sell your book every opportunity I get. That's what we should go back to. We should go back to I'm a teacher. It's the end of the week. I'm
Mama
remembering
Came
Mama.
Callin.
See, I remember the Mama part. Mama came calling. We'll go back to Mama came calling. I loved it because
Thank you.
um, I mean, I expected to. You two could work, but layered mental health stories that aren't exclusively mental health stories are both delicate to do because it's important to like do it right and not make any of the struggles into MacGuffin type things rather than
Mhm.
like actual character things. If you want to like this story where yes, the mental health stuff is really important, but it's not actually the story, it's the characters. Um and it's just a really like this level of deep characters, it's anxiety, sense of loss, trauma, etc., is normally the stuff that you see in memoirs or books that are just about that. So like balancing that, I found myself really, really impressed and like diving, I initially like when you said how about the 30th or the 31st, I went, will I have time to get this done by then? And then the next thing I knew, I hadn't put it down
Oh,
and I
great.
was
That's so
done.
great to hear.
Even though it's a high enough quality PDF that I had to like go through four different readers before I could find one that was not having trouble with it.
Yeah, it's a really high resolution PDF to send to people.
Right,
I downloaded it the other day. I'm like, why is this 2 gigs?
right, right. Well, and particularly again, it becomes hard because not all of the readers can handle it without going, I don't think there's anything on this page. It's like, no,
Right.
there's something on this page that, and like and actually I need to make certain it is the only primary color yellow
Yeah.
because every
Yeah.
once in a while I've had a PDF experience where I wound up getting one color and finding out later that there were supposed to be more.
Uh,
So for like the first 30 pages I was wondering, is this the PDF is not reading properly? It looks good, so I don't think it is.
yeah, it's
And
actually
I forget the point where I decided, no, this was important. This was what they did.
yeah. Yeah, I hope it came through, but yeah, we were trying to go
Yeah.
for it's actually a duotone. It's a really dark blue and a
Okay.
yellow. And so the idea was that when the colors overlap and play with each other, it would create this kind of nauseous green that would kind of like
Okay.
invoke
That
the
was
feel of the
probably
swamp.
where I figured it out
Yeah.
was one of the places where there was the green. And I kind of picked up that it wasn't really a grayscale, but I'm not as good at color as my wife. If I'd shown it to my wife, she would immediately gone, "What are you talking about, black and white? That's blue."
Yeah, it's subtle because it's a super dark. It's like a really slatey blue, but we spent a lot of
Right.
time working on the colors and choosing a pair of colors that would look uh, passable on their own, but also work together to create this. We really wanted to feel like this kind of, like I said, a nauseous or claustrophobic color story.
See, and I didn't even have those words, but yes, I felt both of those things at various points,
Great.
which is one of those
That was the
beautiful
idea.
things about comics is that they can make you feel things that you can't put your finger on why you feel them. But yeah, so talk to me about because you have at this point three. Well, I'm just going to assume that this one's going to get nominated for everything like the other two did. Three incredibly well-regarded graphic novels, Bottom Feeders, Upgrade Soul, which I did like a quarter of a reread today and enough to go, oh yeah, this is amazing. Now Mama Came Calling.
There
I
you
knew
go.
I'd remember it one of
Got
these times.
it.
I always remember the mama, but for whatever reason, I keep thinking that the mama's the second word. So I'm like, I'm digging for that first word. I need to just put it up on screen in front of me. That's what I should have done at the beginning. Did I mention I teach high school?
Yeah, and we're all learning. We're just getting by. We've got bigger problems than the title of some
Right,
book.
right. Yeah, no, I had a therapy appointment earlier today and I found myself going, was the second shooting in Minnesota really only last Saturday?
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's still January?
Yeah.
How many days in January were there? I thought February was the month with a variable number of days, and I thought it only got to have one extra day every 4 years. It feels like this January has been like 1,000 days.
Yeah.
Um, and now I lost my other train of thought. I had a better train of thought going. Um, oh, that's right. So, I mean, you are a established cartoonist in your own right. There was no drop off between Bottom Feeders and Upgrade Soul. I mean, because I'm a big Passmore fan. So when your second graphic novel came out and I only saw your name on it, I'm like, well, I'll give this a shot. And I loved it. So I'm glad I did. But initially it was like, yeah, he did really good writing, but I really love Ben's art.
That's
Where's
great.
Ben? um, Ben, who's a very good karaoke singer too. Um, I've seen him a couple times out at CXC on karaoke night. He always drops the mic. Not
That's
literally,
funny.
because that would
Yeah.
upset the karaoke dudes.
I
But he could.
can
He could
totally
get
see
away with
that.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, he's kind of a big guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he's been doing
Karaoke
mixed martial
guys kind
arts
of.
lately.
I mean, I didn't even know that part.
Yeah.
um. So yeah, how do you decide like this is one I'm doing and or this is one that I need to find an artist and then I mean just from your three graphic novels or the two that you've done with other people, um Ben was a little bit better known at the time, though he's certainly become much better known since then. But I
Mhm.
think I was at least reading in the press for this that this is really Camilla's first major work.
It's her first graphic novel. Yeah, she's illustrated a
Right.
couple of picture books, but this is her first graphic novel. We started
Right.
working on this book together when she was still in school. She hadn't even graduated. She went to uh, Micah in Maryland
Okay.
for art school, so she hadn't even graduated yet. And I found her just um, trolling Instagram for up and coming artists that had interesting styles,
You
and
mean just like every good editor out there?
yeah, yeah, and I had like a folder of people that I was tracking and seeing how they're developing
Okay.
their style. And with Mama Came Callin, I really um, committed to trying to find an up and coming artist who hadn't had a big break yet, because I felt really grateful that I'd been given the opportunities that I'd been given, and just lucky that, have had the doors open for me and I was in the publishing world and I could pitch a book and people would publish it. And I was just looking back on the early days of my career and just thinking about how much it would have changed my life if I got a gig like this when I was in my early 20s. Because as you probably know, my first published graphic novel, Upgrade Soul, I couldn't find a publisher for that for 15 years. I was trying to find a publisher for that book, and it
That I
finally,
didn't actually know.
yeah, and
So
it finally,
Upgrade Soul was done before Bottom Feeders.
yeah, yeah, and I'd
Okay.
been working on that book
I
for years.
I
Um,
no, no. See, I'm not always good at like digging into the backstory because I have so many books to read.
Yeah, well, that's why you do the interviews because then you can hear it straight
Exactly.
from
I
the
get to
horse's
hear this
mouth.
great stuff. So you were sitting on Upgrade Soul when you were selling bottom feeders.
I can't remember what the exact order was. They came out back to back because Ben was working
They
on Bottom
did.
Feeders as I was finishing up Upgrade Soul. So we were kind of like neck and neck a little bit with finishing
Okay.
those two books. Um, and I ended up self-publishing Upgrade Soul as an interactive app, serialized starting in 2012.
Oh
And then
wow.
we were releasing chapters in the app. And then when I finished the whole thing, I did a short self-published run of the book, and then I found a publisher with what used to be Lionforge is now been folded into Oni.
Oni. Gotcha. See, this is how I didn't wind up having it hit my radar until that version.
The Oni version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
so
it was
so
like
in my mind it came like a year or two. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to look up my release dates so that I can no, I mean because also t time has no meaning anymore. Um so it's entirely possible that it's like they could have come out the same week, and because time has no meaning anymore.
no. Well, I can tell you when they came out. I remember Upgrade Soul came out in 2018, and then Bottom Feeders
Yeah,
came out in
no, it did.
2019.
How did that happen then? How do I have them completely reversed in my head?
I don't know. Well, maybe because you're thinking about the hardcover. The hardcover of Upgrade Soul came out probably like 2023 or 2022.
Maybe, but the hardcover has a slightly different cover. Isn't the hardcover the or did they put out a hardcover before they put out the anniversary edition or whatever
Yeah, no, that's
special
the
edition?
hardcover. The
Okay,
special
that
edition
is
is
the
the
hardcover.
hardcover. Yeah.
No, I read it before that came out. So somehow it had just completely missed my radar and probably somebody else's because I read it after I had read somebody else do a write-up of it and went, "Oh, he's got another book."
That's
And
funny.
they must have, hopefully they did it as, "Oh, if you like bottom feeders, you should look at the last book from Ezra Claytan Daniels." But in my head, it was the next book from. And I mean, to be fair, like both of these books are pre-pandemic, and for me, they're also both pre-grandkids.
Mm.
Time has taken on a whole different meaning for me since these two books came out. But I completely apologize, Ezra.
Oh my God.
I
And
had the
also,
books, I
like,
had the books
which book
reversed
came
in
out
my
first?
head, man.
Upgrade Soul or Bottom Feeders? Who cares? Which,
Well, yeah,
like, in the grand
but
scheme
but
of
but
things.
but it's part of what led to my question because to me it seemed like you'd done a book with Ben and then you'd done a book on your own and now you were doing a book with Camilla when in fact you'd done a book on your own and now you're doing books with other people
Yeah.
and doing
And it's
occasional cartoons yourself.
and it's because, like I said, Upgrade Soul took me 15 years to finish, and it was just such a huge time suck that
That
I
makes
just couldn't
way more
see.
sense in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some people who go back and forth, both Matt Kint and Jeff Lemire have like the projects that these are the ones I draw, and they take whatever time that they need to take, and these are the ones I write so that I can pay myself until I'm done drawing.
Yeah. And I think
'Cause it's a
like, and
weird
I'm
business,
similar to Jeff Lemire. I feel like I have a lot of ideas that I want to get out in the world, and I'm
right?
pushing 50 now. I literally don't have time to write and draw all the stories that I want to tell. So just as a matter of pure economics of the time that I have,
Time,
it makes sense to
yeah.
work with other people.
I mean, like I have to sometimes remind myself that I'm 45 myself because every time I like Chris Schweizer in a recent blog post was talking about like in decisions regarding the series of books he's working on, like he had to make some big decisions because he's like, I'm not getting any younger, and this could be a significant portion of the rest of my output in my life. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not that old, man. And then I went, no, you're talking about like 1,000 pages of comics and you're pushing
Yeah.
50. Okay, maybe you are that old.
And drawing is really physically taxing.
Exactly.
It's hard
Exactly.
on your limbs, but it's also like it's hard on your body because it forces you to sit, and like that sedentariness of drawing comics is
Well,
just really
this is where I have to ask you, do you have Coretta Wilberg's book?
no.
Okay, Coretta Wilberg, who is our Corey ex-wife, wrote a book called Draw Stronger.
Mm.
Greta Wilberg actually created the role of um, artist in residence at the NYU Med School,
Oh,
and
cool.
and was that for a long time. She does lots of like actual medicine comics, but the one that I tell everybody that I know who draws to go pick up is this one from Uncivilized Press. Draw Stronger.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen this.
Self-care for cartoonists and visual
Yeah.
artists.
It's so important and it's so easy to
It
forget.
is. It is. I mean, the first essential books that I tell people who are getting into comics that they have to read are things like understanding comics and drawing words and writing pictures and some of the old Eisner storytelling books and whatnot.
Hmm.
But like for artists, not long after that, it's like, oh, and you want this because otherwise you'll break yourself.
Yeah, that's so
And I mean,
crucial. Yeah.
and I mean literally break yourself, not
Yeah.
figuratively, not comics will break your heart, kid, break yourself. I mean, like my arm won't lift.
Yeah. And also just like to maintain the stamina to work long
Yeah.
hours is it's hard to force yourself to work and not get tired. So just like cardiovascular fitness is really big.
Is I think the only artists I that know of, because I don't know as many of them personally, who are as much gym rats as some of the artists that I know in comics are drummers.
Mm.
And I think it's the same reason. It's like
Yeah, it's the endurance.
it's like we are the ones who have to do these crazy feats of endurance that nobody realizes. So we have to be prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah, when me and Ben were on tour for we toured I toured with Ben for Upgrade Soul just to like prep people for Bottom Feeders because we knew Bottom Feeders was going to be coming out imminently. And then when Bottom
Right.
Feeders came out, we went on another tour. We did month-long book tours where we
Right.
both times we bought a month pass on Amtrak and just rode the Amtrak for a month, just like back and forth across the country, basically. But we were so like we it was so much fun for lots of reasons. But like one of the big things we did was like go run together, like do like exercises together at every stop that we had because we were like stuck on a train, like basically stuck on like an airplane seat for days at a time sometimes. So when we got out, we had to be just really good about getting exercise.
Yeah. I need to be better at getting exercise one day.
It's always
I
tomorrow.
do I do have to run around a really big school. So I mean that's kind of exercise.
Oh, for sure. And just it's like mental exercise to just be like mentally dexterous enough to interact with people as you do all day, every day.
I might put noise canceling headphones on the second I hit the hallway to like reset during passing period. It's a necessary part of my life.
You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Self-care.
So tell me where and I pulled it up and then I moved it. Mama Came Callin. Tell me where the ideas came from.
I used to
I
spend a
mean,
lot of time in Florida. My brother lived in Gainesville for 10 years. And I used to date a woman who her family lived in Jupiter and West Palm Beach, so I'd go down there too. I spent many Christmases down there, and I just really became kind of smitten with the tone of the area, just like the really stark juxtaposition between kind of the snowbird northerners who own property down there and often like really ostentatious property, and the locals, and specifically the lower income locals who like lived in or adjacent to swamps, and um people who did manual labor for work. And it was just this really a really striking juxtaposition that I just hadn't really experienced like that before. And it's such a specific culture down there that I thought it was really interesting, and I really wanted to write a story that was set there. And I started writing up Mama Came Callin as an attempt to I just wanted to write a really gonzo, fun crime pulp thriller. I was reading a lot of Brubaker and Phillips books, and I had this book, a graphic novel adaptation of Donald Goines' Daddy Cool that was published in the 80s by, can't remember the publisher's name, but it's this really awesome kind of like a blaxploitation hard-boiled detective graphic novel that's illustrated in kind of an EC comic style. And I wanted to do something that felt like that book. I love that book so much. So I just started writing this story, and it started as a really gonzo crime thriller, and it still has some of those elements. But over the course of working on it I mean, beginning to end, I was working at like chipping away on it like here and there. I wasn't working on it consistently, but beginning to end, it was another thing that I wrote the first draft of that story probably 13 years ago. So it's been in my mind for a long time. And as I would go back to it and dust it off and write new drafts of it, it just became more and more personal, and the main character's story became more and more directly mirrored to my own story and my own issues with identity and insecurity, and and things like that. So it became probably the hardest thing I've ever written, even though it's, and like ambition wise, it doesn't come close to Upgrade Soul, which is like such a sprawling,
Right.
emotional epic. This one's a much tighter and more grounded story. Like it takes place in the real world. There's genre elements, but there's no science fiction or fantasy stuff. It's a
Right.
very character driven thing. But it was just really hard for me to dig deep enough to find the emotionality
Well,
and that
and
I needed
sometimes
to tell
tightening
it.
things up makes it harder too,
Yeah.
rather than being sprawling and whatnot, to go, okay, I need all of this to come out, but it's got to be at this breakneck pace.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Because
forces,
like
yeah. So it had needed to be so economical.
it hadn't popped immediately into my head reading last night, but as soon as you started talking about Florida, I'm like, oh, it reads like a Hyacinth novel. I don't know how much have you read any Carl Hyacin?
But no, I haven't read any.
Oh, Carl Hyacin, he was a beat reporter for, I want to say, the Miami Herald for a long time. So he writes just batshit crazy mysteries, crime stories, all set in Florida.
Oh man, that would have been great research. I wish you had told me that 10 years ago. It would have been
Yeah,
really
well, he's
helpful.
been doing it for that long. Um, he's been doing it for much longer than that, even. Yeah, no, like one of his more recent books may have dealt with a he doesn't ever name it Mar-a-Lago, and I don't remember if he actually ever says that the resident is the former president. It did come out in between, but he does have a snake eat an old rich lady, and hilarity ensue.
Oh man, that sounds great. That sounds right up my alley.
I think that one was called Squeeze Me. Um, Bad Monkey was another of my favorites. He had one called Basket Case, where Warren Zevon actually wrote a song for it.
Wow. No, I'm not familiar.
So
That sounds great though.
yeah, Carl Hyacin. I'll make certain I drop an email with his name.
Yeah, send me a link.
Yeah, no, I'm both amazed that it just means that Florida really is like that. You both managed to capture the same and like I didn't I didn't I never thought of him as as I mean at this point I thought of him as one of the anybody who read crime books knew who he was type of guy. Even actually, what I really loved was about the time that my kids were the perfect age to be reading them. He branched out and started doing some like middle grade YA novels
Oh,
that are
cool.
almost as batshit crazy. They're just not as gory and don't have the sex or language or drugs.
Oh, that's
Like,
fun.
but like I think Hoot was his first YA book, and it involves like a middle school kid taking on a major um like corporation that's messing up an owl habitat. He may be really good at writing characters that don't stick strictly to legal things, but they they break the law for good reasons against even worse people.
That's, I
I,
mean,
I, I dropped the link in the chat,
oh, cool.
but I'll try to remember to email you too, because I'll give you a list of some of my favorites. I'll go through.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
great. I also remember I was reading a lot of the Vertigo crime
okay,
books. Do you remember those? I
I
think it
do.
was maybe it was Karen Berger, the editor of those, but there was like a whole line of like 15
No,
self-contained.
I mean, Karen Berger was the editor of the overall Vertigo. I don't remember if she was the sub editor of the Vertigo Crime or whether that might have been oh, I can think of so many people that might have gotten that gig
But
because
those were great.
Vertigo is
And
where all good things happened.
it was, and they had, I mean, it was such a fun series because they, as you know, they pair these really great
Oh
crime
yeah.
writers with really great illustrators, and there's some real gems in that line.
Yeah. Bronx Kill. As I pull up the Vertigo crime series.
Yeah, those are great. I tracked down all of them on Abe books when I started working on this book.
Yeah. No, I have also read all of them. They are definitely favorites of mine and um it's a shame how many of them are out of print right now.
I know it's such a bummer because I really one of the other things I was trying to do with Mama Came Callin is I had this fantasy of this book being sold in airport bookstores because I felt like that would be the perfect place to pick up a cheap graphic novel before you get on a flight and you can read it during the course of the flight, and when you're done with the flight you'll probably be done with the book and then you can hand it off to somebody at your destination. So I was imagining like what kind of a book would be a great thing to sell at an airport, and it's like a crime thriller would be a crime thriller with
Right.
a really sticky, funky looking cover would be such a great thing to have in an airport. So that I mean that's not why I came up with the story, but as we were getting deep into it, and I was thinking about what this book is going to look like in the world, that became my fantasy. So I really wanted to do something exactly like those Vertigo crime books. I wanted to do a smaller scale book that like felt like a novel, and it would look in like it would look like it's in the right place on a shelf full of other
Well, and
pulp crime thriller books.
that's a question that I have for you because I've only seen the PDF. I ordered, I mean, before I even emailed you, I had ordered a copy on bookshop.org. So hopefully I'll get it next week. Um, but what size did you make it? Is it
Well, it ended up being 6 by 9, so it's just standard trade paperback, whatever
okay?
size like a Colleen Hoover or James Patterson book was.
Okay. So it will fit in nicely in the airport bookstores.
Yeah, that I hope so. But I mean, I really wanted it to be like 4 by 7, like the classic pulp
Right.
size. But they were like, "There's no way we're gonna do." So the publisher
I,
was like,
yeah, I don't, I mean, I'm all with you. I wish that a lot of the old sizes were still around, and I wish that More publishers were willing to say, kind of screw the decorum. This book will look great this way. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Um, but among the sizes that get used right now, having the trade paperback size, like the book trade paperback size versus the comic trade paperback size is probably more appropriate, is what I was trying to say when I
Yeah.
said it was the James
Yeah.
Patterson size. And I
Yeah.
can't
I
wait to
think it
have it in
still
my
looks
hands.
cool. Yeah. But I also wanted it to be printed on like the cheapest, junkiest paper that they could get. I really had this vision. Like I wanted this book to be like $10. I wanted it to be super cheap. I wanted to like decompose in people's hands as they're finishing it and they could just put
Okay,
it in the
now
recycling bin.
now you're just making me think of other things. Starting with, I mean, you brought up Brubaker and Phillips, but
Mhm.
have you read Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips, That Texas Blood,
No.
or Enfield Gang Massacre? First of all, they're phenomenal. They're one of my unpopular comic opinions that I stick to anyway, because I think 20 years from now nobody's going to argue with me, is that Jacob Phillips is already better than his dad. He can do
Wow.
everything Sean can do and more
Wow.
in his like late 20s.
Wow. Okay, cool. I'm excited.
Um, but when they did Enfield Gang Massacre, which is in the same universe as their That Texas Blood series, but like 100 years earlier, it's like an actual Western, whereas they've been doing like West Texas crime stories in That Texas Blood. Um, they did it all on newsprint,
Oh,
and
cool. That's so cool.
then they did the graphic novel on newsprint too.
Oh man, I'm so jealous. I just love that. I
So
just love that tactile
this
quality.
is where sometime, because Image, because they were all Image books, and Image is kind of like, well, it's your skin, not ours.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Image doesn't care.
But yeah, they may have done that. But Brubaker and Phillips just did the giant size criminal on on uh on newsprint as well, and I may be on a text thread with Chris Condon where somebody immediately went, just picked up giant size criminal. Is Brubaker stealing from you? Condon was very, very good to say, you said it, I did not.
That's cool though. I mean, yeah, we're all thinking about the same thing, but I feel like we're all probably coming from the same inspirations,
Well,
even just aesthetic inspirations.
and like, one of the things is you have higher quality newsprint now too. I mean, it
Yeah.
feels like newsprint, but it's not gonna fall apart the way some of those even 80s and certainly 70s comics. We're not talking like full on pulp newsprint.
Yeah.
We're talking paper with bleed that has a certain texture to it.
Hmm.
Um, I actually love how much in the comics industry it seems like more and more people are playing around, not just with the format, but with the physical I mean, for God's sake, DC put out a scratch and sniff comic last year.
I didn't know about that.
Last year. Last
That's
year.
crazy. That's funny.
Had you seen anything scratch and sniff since like the 80s?
Yeah.
They put out a Harley Quinn scratch and sniff issue. And what's more, the scratch and sniff smelled like farts.
Well, what else are they gonna smell like?
I don't know, but I got to talk to Joanne Starrer and Ted Brandon Stein about making it, and man, did they have fun.
That's fun. I bet. I just picked up the new Fantagraphics. They just did a new reprint of the Eternaut, which I was so bummed to miss it on the first print, but the new print is so big. I think it might be
Right.
newsprint. I was thumbing through it when I brought it home the other
Yeah.
day, and it has this like a really nice tactile quality to the paper.
Yeah, no, the Fantagraphics really, really, I love that Fantagraphics doesn't have a strict house style. They put out each book in the way that is going to present best.
Yeah. Yeah, they do really
You
good
know,
work.
they put a lot of thought into what's the best way to make this book. I mean, even like if you look at a series, like a series of their books are going to be made the same. But even if you go from like, oh, this is a comic strip book and that's a comic strip book, it's like, yeah, no, the Peanuts books aren't necessarily going to be like the Pogo books because they're different strips.
Yeah.
We're going to do it the way it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was really fun
Um,
working with them on bottom feeders. When I did
yeah,
I mentioned that I did Upgrade Soul as an interactive iOS app before it was a book. And part of the structural strategy with that was that we originally designed Upgrade Soul to be seen on iPad screens. So every page was like a 4:3 ratio, like
right.
tablet screen, but they were designed to then be stacked two up for a standard comic book size. So if you look at the actual Upgrade Soul book, every page of Upgrade Soul is actually two iPad screens stacked on top of
Okay.
each other. So every single page of Upgrade Soul is bisected, it's dissected down the middle.
Okay.
And because I didn't know what was going to happen with bottom feeders when we were working on it, I thought we might do bottom feeders as an interactive app the same way I did Upgrade Soul. So I had Ben do the art in the same ratio. And so when we brought it to Fantagraphics, I told Eric that we could do the book as a horizontal landscape format book, or we could stack it, let's say same way I did
Right.
with Upgrade Soul and have it be a more standard sized book. And when me and Ben, like I said, I said earlier, I think before we started recording, but me and Ben did a really short run self-published version of Bottom Feeders when we were on one of our book tours just to get the book out there. We hadn't signed with Fantagraphics yet. We didn't know what we were going to do,
Right.
but we had this book that
Right.
was done. And that self-published version is actually stacked vertical. So if anybody
Okay, then
has
I definitely don't have that one.
yeah,
I've only seen it as the widescreen.
the brick size one. But
Right.
when we sold a Spanish translation of Bottom Feeders, and that one they ended up stacking it. So that one's like a actual comic book size book.
Gotcha. No, I mean, like through the podcast, I've become so much more a student of like all elements of comics, and like it had never occurred to me until I started really learning about comic strips that one of the reasons comic strips are set up the way they are is so newspapers could choose how to run them.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, do they do them as four panels across, or do they do them as a
yeah,
square with two panels and two panel?
yeah. They could
It
Tetris
makes
them
it
however they need
easier
to.
for them to, um, and it also made me laugh so much as I learned things like, oh, all this stuff that we attribute to Will Eisner or even to Frank Miller and later artists like Winsor McCay and Roy Crane were doing when they had full pages to work with rather than being shrunk down to half pages and then quarter pages. You look at some of the comic strips from like the teens and 20s is like,
Yeah.
oh, all this stuff that people called new in the 90s wasn't new.
There's so much like that.
We just hadn't looked at it. Like
Yeah, we forget.
I learned some of this because I talked to Paul Pope a couple of times, and I was talking to him about his Wednesday comics, and like he totally based his style of like the Adam Strange stories on Roy Crane's Captain Easy.
That's cool. I mean,
I'm
Paul was a
like,
student of
so
history.
you
That
did?
doesn't
Oh yeah,
surprise me
no,
that,
God,
yeah,
yeah. Talking to Paul Pope is so much fun. In fact, I have something in the pipeline that I'm still afraid to talk about on the air, but Paul and I think are gonna be talking about an upcoming Fantagraphics release together just because he loves it, and I'll take any excuse to talk comics with Paul Pope.
that's awesome.
That's my other favorite thing to do on this show is when I can start talking to to cool people about comics that aren't even theirs. It's like, oh yes, I will come talk about blank.
Yeah. I mean, I
Um,
feel like the best artists and writers are like true nerds and they like really nerd out about really specific things. And especially people like Paul, like, he's got some deep cut all-time favorites
oh yeah.
that nobody else knows about, people, some things that people have forgotten about. And,
Mhm.
like, I honestly feel like the best comics ever made are books that people don't remember, like books that are completely lost to time because they're not kept in circulation. I feel like not
I
to
mean, I think
disparage.
half the time the best comics from this year aren't the ones that people jumped up and down about.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
But yeah, so much of it has to do with the marketing behind the books and the publicity and who's keeping the books in circulation, like I said. But yeah, I like when people ask me what my all-time favorite books are, one of the first ones that comes to mind is an old kitchen sink press book called Kings in Disguise that I don't think
ah,
has been in circulation for decades.
I have a copy of that downstairs. And you know why I have a copy of that downstairs? Oh, see, this is there are two questions that I close the show with. So I'm gonna go ahead and preview them for you and allow you to think about them. Because one of them is talk about a surreal experience that you had just because of um the fact that you work in comics and share it. And another one is like share something that you love that not enough people around you have read and you need them to so you can talk about it. So you're not going to be able to use Kings in Disguise because you just used it now and we're not
Oh man, well
together.
that
So
would have been the
don't.
one.
I know, but I might have to bring you back because I was just thinking today that another person that I didn't like I've talked to and worked on having come on the show and we like scheduled something and then had to cancel it and then we've circled around and then we both got busy and we haven't traded emails in a while is Dan Burr. And this is why I brought up both of the questions. I discovered Kings in Disguise. Dennis Kitchen has become a friend of mine. Enough so that when he comes into town, because his family lives up in Milwaukee, he tries to make certain that we get together. And this last time, he's like, "Is it okay if we have lunch with my friend Dan, and then we'll go to the comic shop or something?" And I'm like, "Sure." And at the time, I knew that he was the artist on like as a teacher, as a policy nerd, etc. He did the art on a book called Economics, which is like a comics journalism history of economics.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite. It's like before you talk to me about anything economics, if you don't know this book, like can show that you know the shit in this book, then like go read this comic and then we can have a talk about economics.
That's great. I
Uh
got to read that one.
it's
But
great.
yeah, I love that book. It's such a, I
But
mean, that was
but
like one of the
but
first books I read that was just like, oh, this is what you can do with
Dennis brought up
comics.
Kings in Disguise, so I immediately ordered a copy that I didn't get in time to go get or to get signed by him, but I did get the sequel. I came across at a comic shop literally the day before I met with them. Was the sequel? The sequel's On the Ropes.
Yeah.
So I have my On the Ropes signed by Dan
Oh,
Burr
that's awesome.
because I literally sat in like the cafe area of a co-op in Milwaukee, um, eating breakfast sandwiches and drinking coffee with Dennis Kitchen and Dan Burr for like
That's
two
pretty cool.
hours, just
That's a pretty
listening to
surreal
their
comics
old story.
experience.
Exactly. So it's crazy that you mentioned that book. And I still need to read it. It's on the pile.
It's so
So,
good.
well, it just went higher on the pile, and then I'll bring you back and I'll say I'm talking to Dan Burr. You got to come and be the co-host today.
Oh man, that would be amazing. But yeah, like I feel like like books like that that just get lost because like, Watchmen and Dark Knight
It
Returns are
is
great.
still in print.
Oh, is it? Great.
It is.
Great. But it doesn't have the marketing engine behind it
No.
that something like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen do. That's why I feel like that's one of the reasons those books are always like at the top of like the top 10 greatest graphic novels of all time. So it's unfortunate that a lot of these really,
Well, I
really great
mean,
books just
and
get lost.
so somewhere where that becomes interesting is I mean, I don't think you were on all of the emails I shared with your or traded with your publisher today, but like even beef, I mean, the downside of the Diamond monopoly was a lot of the book publishers never felt like dealing with Diamond because they don't need to. So there were a certain class of book that never made it into comic shops because they weren't coming through Diamond. But now post
Yeah.
Diamond, tons of publishers just haven't landed anywhere. Even the ones that do want to make certain that they and the stores are having to figure out how to go from having one catch-all distributor to, well, will I be okay with two? How about three, six, eight? How many distributors do I need to deal with? I'm not used to having to look at different catalogs. Um, so like comics are just a weird business from a distribution standpoint.
Yeah.
Particularly because I want to say like there are three comic shop chains in the nation. There's one down in Florida, there's Graham Crackers in Illinois, and there's the one out in Massachusetts. And I think that like the most stores in any of those chains is eight.
Mhm.
So it's not like you have, I mean, even independent bookstores sometimes have, I mean, generally, most independent bookstores will have a couple of categories that they're really good at. And the rest
Mhm.
will be, they'll know something and then they'll do special orders for you, right?
Yeah.
Um, with comics, it's like to a certain extent, if you're not good at superheroes, you're not in business, with a handful of exceptions. Desert
Mhm.
Island in Brooklyn has managed to like be, a couple of really small stores like Lion's Tooth doesn't even have a lunar account, and didn't have a diamond account before that, but
Mhm.
they do resistance books, they do indie comics, they do book clubs, they teach art, they scrape by in a million different ways to not
Yeah, yeah.
have not have the superheroes. And they're a really small place. Like my bedroom is about the size of their store. It's wonderfully laid out. I'm not that's not supposed to bash it. And there's Dennis Kitchen original art on the wall.
Wow.
He drew it in front of me a couple of years ago. Um, and that was fun.
That's cool.
It is fun when you're at a store and they figure out that you're with somebody cool. Um, but yeah. So I lost, no, I didn't completely, yeah. So I spent like half the day today trying to figure out like what's the best way to get your book into the comic shop that I consult for. It looks
Yeah,
like
that's
we're probably gonna
frustrating.
start an account directly through um I have it up. No excuse for forgetting again. HarperCollins. HarperCollins
Mm.
does direct distribution and has enough other comics that I think will probably just start an account. And thankfully, pretty quickly, I got hooked up with the comic shop person from HarperCollins to okay. And
Oh,
he,
great.
by the way, also loves your book. He separated us out separately with I'm going to separate this out just two of us so I can say, yeah, wasn't it an amazing book without saying
Oh, that's awesome.
total geek to everybody else?
Oh, that makes me feel so
So I just
good.
outed him.
That's awesome.
So yeah. I'm not alone in thinking Mama Came Callin is amazing.
Oh, great.
Um, so yeah, that's always a comics issue is how do you get it from you being done with it to the person who wants to read it having it in their hands.
Yeah.
I might have a panel about that at C2E2 this year.
Oh, that'd
And
be
by
great.
and by might, I mean I do. It's on the schedule already.
Oh, great. That'll be very useful. I'll have to
I
send all my HarperCollins people to that panel.
I have. I mean, I don't know if it'll be completely informative, but I have a publisher, a distributor, and a comic shop to say, okay, let's talk about the challenges.
Yeah,
You know, it's
that
one
must
thing
be
to make a
crazy.
great book, and it's another thing to love a great book, but how do we get said great book in between?
Yeah.
So a lot of steps. Um, so uh tell me your comics biography. And by that, I don't mean your bibliography. We've hit most of your bibliography. I mean, I'd love to hit more, but I mean like your biography. Talk to me about the comics you remember reading earliest, the comics that made you fall in love with comics, the comics that made you want to write comics, you know. Talk to me about the formative comics. Give me names, give me writers, give me artists. Like, take me on a journey.
Okay, let me think about this. Well, I always made comics ever since I was a kid. I discovered a box of old 70s Marvel comics that my uncle had left behind when he went to war. He went to Operation Desert Storm, left me with a bunch of comics.
See, I got my box of comics that my uncle left behind when he went to college, but same 70s Marvel.
Yeah, probably a lot of the same issues. And they were just like a bunch of disconnected issues. It wasn't any runs or
hmm
anything. It was just like a
hmm
bunch of random stuff. But I just
Mine
fell in
had
love
a
with the art.
yeah, mine had a lot of spectacular Spider-Man. And I remember specifically there was more spectacular than amazing, which is why I've always been more into spectacular than amazing.
That's funny.
Um,
You get your allegiances early on.
and lots of Daredevil and like a hodgepodge after that.
Yeah. Yeah, probably a
Yeah.
lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got into comics that way, and I really like the art more than the stories. I don't remember reading the stories because, like I said, they're all disconnected issues, so I couldn't follow the
Right.
stories beyond that issue, anyways. And then, like a lot of people, when the Marvel trading cards came out in the 90s, that was a huge thing for me, and I collected all of those, and that's how I was introduced to artists like Mark Teixeira and um, Dennis Cowan was a big one. I don't know if Dennis Cowan did any of those cards, but I remember he was a really
I
big
love Dennis Cowan.
influence. His style is so like
I love Dennis Cowan.
it's so singular, and I really got like I did freelance illustration and graphic design for a long time was my day job, and so I was a really big fan of just illustration in general, and I got really into collecting old pulp sci-fi magazines from the 50s,
Okay.
like the little digest size one. Galaxy
Right.
magazine was my favorite
Right.
one, and Galaxy magazine just had the coolest, most interesting black and white interior art. The cover art was always cool, like the big fully painted stuff, but the
Right.
interior art was so stylish and so beautiful. Actually, I only have a few pieces of original art in my collection. One of them is a piece by William Ashman, who was a Galaxy magazine illustrator from the 50s. And I have this like great yellowed piece of art with like old crumbling Scotch tape on the back holding it together. And it's from 1956, I think. So that's one of my most prized possessions. But yeah, it was really started by just being into the art. And I also was just like really into telling stories and writing stories. I got really into movies really early. And I dreamed of being a filmmaker, but I always had pretty bad social anxiety, and the idea of managing a film set and a crew and actors was really terrifying. But because I was
It,
able
it
to,
it it can be done. I know somebody who's got that stuff going on that's still a showrunner and makes really good shows.
yeah, I'm sure it can be.
I'm sometimes blown away that he does because it feels like every time he finishes, he's like, "Why did I do
I know it's
that?"
And I mean, I've definitely been in situations like that before where I mean, I think that's one of the things I trained myself to do is just to learn to say, to never say no to something because I was afraid
Yeah.
um, of the anxiety. And so a lot of interesting places of doors have opened up for me because I learned to say yes to everything. Um, but yeah, so I turned to drawing comics instead of filmmaking because I had this ability to draw, and it was just the way that I could tell the stories that I wanted to tell without relying on anybody else. And so that's how it began.
Like that. Any other guiding forces? I mean, we've got the old boxes of comics, but like eventually you were older than 10 and maybe started paying attention to who was drawing or who was writing the stuff that you
Yeah, yeah.
loved.
Like I think I grew up in Sioux City, Iowa, so I didn't have access to like
Oh, I know
anything.
where Sioux City is.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My wife grew up outside of Sioux Falls.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up there, and Sioux City is a great place to grow up, but I didn't have access to a lot of like outside the box comics. It was pretty strictly Marvel,
Shocking.
DC, and Image stuff.
Shocking.
So I might
I'm
have seen
amazed that you
some.
even had image stuff.
Yeah, I think I might have seen some Sin City stuff, but I don't think I really knew what Sin City was until I left my
Sin City was
hometown.
any city that wasn't in Iowa.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I moved to Portland, Oregon to go to art school, and then
That was Sin City.
that was a real Sin City. But I think I kind
And
of
then
like,
Chicago was definitely Sin City.
yeah, that was
I'm just speaking based on like extended family of my wife and or like family friends back home in Sioux Falls that are like, she lives where?
yeah.
Mind you, we're like 45 miles outside of Chicago. I hope she's got a gun.
It's not that
No, we
bad.
do
Yeah.
not.
Uh,
No, Chicago is not that bad. But
yeah.
but the people in many of the people in South Dakota do think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my commentary. Chicago is wonderful and not really that dangerous at all.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got back into comics when I moved to Portland to go to art school. And that's when I really got into Sin City. I discovered like Dan Clowes and Chris Ware and probably I think Charles
Both
Burns.
of whom have Chicago ties.
Yeah,
Chris Ware's
yeah,
still in the area. Dan
yeah.
Clowes moved out to San Francisco, but I have one of Dan Clowes's childhood Daredevil issues
Oh, crazy.
because when his I forget if it was when his mom passed away or if it was some other relative, but eventually the last like Chicago area relative passed away and like his childhood comic collection was still here and he didn't want to take it across the country. So instead, he sold it all to Chicago Comics. Now, what makes it cool is Dan Clowes is a kid, was that kid that not only bagged and boarded everything, they had stickers on the outside that would say things like Ordway, or they like little tiny stickers in really small handwriting that would like list the writer and artist and sometimes have a synopsis of the story or who the bad guy was or
Oh,
whatever.
that's so cool.
So I have I think it's a Jerry Ordway era Daredevil that has the Dan Clowes sticker and like
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever had
I
him on the show?
haven't had Dan Clowes yet.
Oh man,
I
that'd be
talked to him
great.
briefly at CXC a couple of years ago.
I wonder
Uh,
what he would say if you told him you had that comic.
oh, I would dig it out so I could go, see, look.
It'd be so cool.
I just thought I like of all the cool things to wind up. I mean, they had his entire collection, and like they didn't treat it like they did. And I don't know if that's something that he worked out with them. I mean, I think there were a few signs that said like look for, but they just put it in their bins where it would go normally, and you'd be
Yeah.
flipping through, and go, oh, wait a minute, this is a Klaus one, and it was still like $10
Wow.
for a like 1973 Daredevil in good
When was that?
condition. What?
When was that?
This was post-pandemic, so it was like probably 2022, 20. I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised
wow.
if they still have some.
Oh, crazy. That
Again,
was
they
way
didn't
after I
seem like they
left.
were going nut. I mean, they'd had them for a year when I was in and came across the Daredevil. I happened to see an article on it once. I'm like, oh, the next time I'm down at Chicago Comics, I'll have to like flip through stuff and
That's so cool. Yeah,
yeah.
Chicago Comics, that was my spot when I lived in Chicago. I mean, Chicago Comics and Quimby's, obviously. But yeah,
Yeah.
those Eric Kersimer and one of my roommates was working at Chicago Comics when I first moved to Chicago, so we were there all the time.
Yeah, I was when I was at Loyola in 98 and 99, I was at Chicago Comics probably twice a week.
Yeah,
Uh,
second home.
Yeah. Such a good story. Chicago's got a lot of good comic shops. I mean, I will always shout out Challengers Comics and Conversation
Yeah,
because they're amazing. First Aid Comics is amazing.
yeah, yeah. What was the one at Evanston?
There are a couple of
Not
them.
Kamikaze.
Maybe
That was a great shop too.
Howling Pages might be after you moved, but it's great. And they had an art show for Godzilla versus Chicago.
Oh, cool. Oh, I think I knew about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun book to work on.
Well, talk to me about it then. How did that come up? I mean, because Godzilla, I'm not a Godzilla guy. There's so many things in comics lately that like enough people that I love who did happen to be that fandom or whatnot have wound up doing things that I had never been a fan of. And it's like, well, I'm not a Godzilla fan, but I'm an Ezra Clayton Daniel fan. I'm a Carolyn Cash fan, and I'm a Chicago fan. So if Godzilla is coming to Chicago and Ezra Clayton Daniels and Carolyn Cash, oh, and that Tim Seeley guy is pretty cool too, um, are all going to be involved in the comic, then I think I'm buying it. And then it was amazing, and I'm like, God damn it, am I a Godzilla fan now?
That's awesome. Yeah, I
So,
don't.
so how did that come about? And were you a Godzilla fan or just a Chicago fan?
Well, I'm more of a Chicago fan. I was a little bit of a Godzilla fan, but not like a Godzilla. Like I mean, I'd seen a lot of Godzilla movies, but wouldn't consider myself a Godzilla fan. But the editors just reached out to me because I think maybe it was shortly after the MCA, Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, did a big like Chicago comics retrospective. It was like Chicago comics from the 60s until
Right.
now. And so they featured a bunch of my work and they featured a bunch of work from people that I was running around with when I was in Chicago at that time. So that had like kind of reinvigorated my association with the Chicago comic scene. So I think one of the editors might have seen that show or heard about that show. Um, so they reached out to me and I told them that I had been living in LA for the past 8 years, but they were just like, it's a Chicago vibe. And also Bottom Feeders is such a Chicago centric book that I feel like, and I'm
Yep.
honored to be considered a Chicago, like one of the cartoonists from Chicago. Because like I said earlier, I still consider Chicago home. Like when I meet people here, even though I grew up in Sioux City and I've been in LA for 10 years, and people say, "Where are you from?" I say I'm from Chicago, and I still have my 773 phone
Well,
number.
nobody
So
wants
I'm
to say they're
still.
from Sioux City.
I mean,
Nobody wants to say they're from Sioux City. So it was either Chicago or Portland.
yeah, right.
I mean, among other things, you say you're from Sioux City, and you're going to have to follow with Iowa because they won't know
Yeah,
until you say it.
there'll have to be some explanations.
And then they'll be like, "Is that actually a city? Because I've never heard of it. I thought it was just a root beer brand." I used to get Sioux City sarsaparilla at a mobile station in Mount Morris, Illinois, every time we drove out to Galena. That for the longest
Oh
time is
yeah.
what Sioux City meant to me.
Yeah, there's some great sweets from Sioux City. There's Sioux City sarsaparilla, but also Sioux Bee honey is a big one. And
Okay.
what's the other one? Palmer Candy Company is in Sioux City. They make the
Okay.
Twin Ding, the cherry, the chocolate covered cherry mounds.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know if you've had those, but that was like the Sioux City
I think
thing.
I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Come in the red
Yeah. I
package.
don't. I don't mean to sound like I'm making too much fun of it because I'm not. I
Yeah, leave
love.
Sioux City alone. What does Sioux City ever do to
No,
you?
well, I mean,
Some things.
I'm certain I could come up with something. I mean, I don't know how much I like Iowa these days. They're pretty red. They used to be purplish, and they've changed their mind.
Yeah, we have a pretty bad leadership in Iowa right now.
I mean, wasn't it an Iowa senator that was like when somebody yelled at her that people would die if she cut back on Medicaid funding? She's like, well, we're all gonna die. And
Yeah.
then decided that the way to apologize for it was essentially to double down from a cemetery.
Yeah, that sounds right. Joni Ernst? That sounds
I
like
think
her.
so.
Yeah. I just emailed her yesterday.
Yeah,
Not personally, but just like, come on, man, what's going on?
right. Um, no. Like I've gotten to know Andrew Iden because of this, and
Mm,
and and talking to him is really great because like he's from rural North Carolina and spent
mm.
time in Georgia with John Lewis and whatnot, and like is really good at grounding me and reminding me that like people are people everywhere. These are some hard-working people.
Yeah.
So I will say that I can find ways to make fun of my own city and do perhaps not today as much. Um, it's just sometimes fun to think about because I mean I'll also say I never tell people I'm from Wheaton. I tell people I'm from Chicago.
But yeah,
And if I don't tell
it's
them
just
I'm from
easier.
Yeah, and if I don't tell them I'm from Chicago, I tell them I'm from Galena, even though I left there when I was 3. But it's a cooler sounding town.
But yeah.
It's like I'm either going to be from the city or the small town. I'm not going to tell you I'm from the suburb. At least not if we're outside of Chicagoland. If I'm talking to somebody in Chicagoland, you tell them the real place because they'll call you out if like,
Yeah, totally.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
from Chicago. Ah, really? Which neighborhood?
Yeah.
Wheaton.
Yeah. My wife was really good at calling people out on that. Like, let's be clear. Oak Park, maybe you get a pass. Berwyn, nah. Naperville,
Well, and I mean, Wheaton is the home of the Billy Graham Center, and is where the ironically titled Chicago Golf Course is apparently where Dick Cheney and um, Karl Rove and a lot of those neocons hatched all of their plans going into 2000.
oh no.
Dennis Hastert, he was from our district. Or no, he might have been DeKalb. Um, but why
Oh,
can't I?
by the way, Sioux City represent the former captain of the Chicago Bulls, Kirk Heinrich, is from my hometown, and I went to high school with him. I don't know if you follow the Bulls, but he was a
A
year
little
younger
bit.
than me in
I'm
high
much
school.
more of a baseball guy.
Well, he was captain of the Bulls for a long time.
Cool. I
Yeah, that is
mean,
cool.
I remember Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I don't follow basketball either, but that was our
Scottie
my
Pippen,
hometowns. Yeah,
and John Paxson. Yeah, I
I don't
remember
know.
the guy. I
We,
remember some of the guys that were on the championship teams. How about that?
I don't know. Are we just naming basketball players?
Randomly,
Uh,
yes. That's the best I can do. I think all of the ones I named were once on the Bulls, though. I
I,
hope.
I don't even know. Somebody will call you out in the comments.
Probably not. I don't get enough comments. But please, I want more commenters. So if I got anything wrong, please call me out in the
Yeah, just
comments.
rage bait. You need to start rage baiting Chicago Bulls fans by naming random names and saying that they're on the championship
Uh,
team.
um, let's see. Ezra Claytan Daniels. He was the forward.
Right.
that got injured and Michael Jordan took over. That's right.
Yeah, leave a comment.
Ben Passmore was the center. He's tall enough to be.
Yeah.
Um, all right. We're both getting goofy silly at this point. So A, we just need to agree to do this again. But B, now we'll get into those final questions. Tell me,
Yeah. Oh, and by the way,
give
my headphones are dying soon, so yeah, we should start
yeah,
wrapping up.
I started
I'm
noticing
gonna
that too.
disappear.
Right. So give me one of those surreal stories, one of those things that happened to you because you work in comics that like if you had told 10-year-old Ezra or even 20-year-old Ezra, or in my case, like I started doing comics podcasting at 41. So like I if you told 40-year-old myself frankly that I was going to be talking to Ezra Claytan Daniels and laughing with you for an hour and a half, but certainly that I was going to have like lunch with Dennis Kitchen or any number of things that I've done. And I found that everybody in comics has stories like that where they're just like, how did I start living this life? Give me one of those stories.
Oh man. I Well, the first thing that comes to mind was when I got to write a Deathlock story for Marvel. And that wasn't like a celebrity, like a comic celebrity interaction, but that was definitely
Doesn't
like one
have
of
to
those
be.
times. But that
Right.
was definitely one of those times where I was just like, I can't believe that I get to come up with like a canon Deathlock story. Deathlock was my favorite character when I was, and mostly just from collecting the cards because the art on the Deathlock card was so cool. And like as a kid, he's a cyborg zombie. Like how could any character be cooler than that? Um, and then to find out later that Dwayne McDuffie wrote some of the like the all-time great Deathlock storylines, and Dwayne McDuffie's take on the story being like that Deathlock is a black man trapped in the body of a dead white man. I found so connected with me as a biracial person in a way that I couldn't even
Okay,
really
now I
articulate.
have to go read more Deathlock. I barely knew Deathlock, and you've just sold me on Deathlock.
It's just like such a fun world. And Dennis Cowan drew a lot of the, I think he did almost all of the Dwayne McDuffie storylines for Deathlock, but they're just awesome comics. So that was a big inspiration when I started making comics. So it was really a dream in a lot of ways to be able to write something. Um, and it turned out really fun. I was really proud of that story.
Sounds amazing to me. I mean, you just gave me so much new information. And I hope that didn't come off in even one iota facetious. It's more like I'm also autistic, so sometimes my like when my brain is blown, like I stop having control over how my voice sounds. When I've got the headphones on, I'm like, oh, did that sound like I was being sarcastic? I'm not being sarcastic. My brain is blowing up. McDuffie and Cowan did this character that I didn't even realize was cool. Now I need to go look at, and Ezra did. So like I have at least two Deathlock stories that I have to go find. Um, yeah. And
Yeah, they're
possibly
great.
even another thing to throw into, we have a milestone book club. Um,
Oh,
and
cool.
and
Yeah, that'd be
and we're
perfect.
and we're like halfway through milestone, but every once in a while we'll take a, I mean, so far we've taken breaks to do like new milestone. But this would
Mm,
be another thing, as we wrap up the third compendium, it might be something to toss out and go, hey,
totally relevant. Yeah.
do we want to, did you guys know that Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cowan got together on Deathlock? I did not know this. And Gregory Wright. Here I am. I pulled it up. Deathlock number one from no, that's the digital release date. Yeah, Dwayne McDuffie, Gregory Wright, and Dennis Cowan from 1991. So they actually were doing Deathlock before they did Milestone.
Yeah.
Now I really need to go. Yeah. See, this is what
Yeah, it's
happens.
great. Yeah. And like the early Deathlock stuff is really cool too. So the stuff from the 70s is really psychedelic and super stylish. I really like all the Deathlock stuff is really fun.
Well, okay, you've convinced me. I'm gonna have to add it to my. Do you have any idea how big my to read pile is? And
Yeah,
you're
I
giving
probably
me
have some
Marvel
idea.
stuff? You're
Yeah.
giving me Marvel stuff?
I've got a big to read pile. I can't imagine how big somebody who actually works in a store has.
I know, but Marvel doesn't need my money. And they don't need me to promote their stuff, man. Uh, okay, well, that does actually take away one more thing for the last question, though, which is tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't really have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough
Uh,
people around you have experienced, and you need them to, so you have more people talking about it. And it
oh,
can't be Deathlock, and it can't be
Kings in Disguise.
Kings in Disguise because we already talked about them, and I'm gonna read them both and make you come talk to me about them.
Oh, I got a good one. Karen Chapp's book, Fuchi Perf, is a book that I read probably, I think it probably came out like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. It's a pretty small little um, book published by Chat Books. And that book, especially in times like these where it feels really hard to find hope against these insurmountable odds, I found that book to be this really stunningly hopeful science
What is it
fiction.
again?
It's called Fuchi Perf.
Fuchi Perf?
Yeah, by K Chap, Czap.
That would
But I think
help.
about that book a lot, and I found it to be really hopeful and inspiring, and it's just stunningly beautifully illustrated.
Ah, this is first, I think it's Kevin now, it appears. Futchiprf.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Uh, and it's now being published by Uncivilized. So so I know the publisher. He's a good guy. Make certain I'm gonna share and you can tell me that this is the one. As soon as I find the right button, I can't always find the right button. This one? Does that look right?
Yep, yep, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, it's Karen now.
Oh, it's Karen now, and it
Yeah,
was okay.
yeah.
I'm
I think
just
they may go by K Chap now.
okay. I just I'm used to Tom being on top of having that stuff right. So I just assumed that that it had changed and you had read it before, but
No, this is an
I
old.
will
I think this
trust
is
you.
probably an old. But the book, like I said, the book came out a while ago.
Yeah, it looks like the book originally came out in 2016, but this is the got it.
But anyways, it's an awesome book.
Yeah,
I
it
highly
looks good.
recommend it.
It looks good. I will have to
It's one I
check that
definitely
out
recommend to
and
everybody.
check out Chat Books as well,
Yeah, they do really great stuff.
because micro presses are good things to know. Cerebro character file, counting down the X-Men. Okay, that also looks cool. Particularly, I'm weird. I don't have favorite X-Men. I haven't read a ton of X-Men, but I often like reading books about the X-Men. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where they have so much history that it's like I'd rather read what other people love about them and then go on my curated journeys. It's like, oh, you love this stuff. Now I'll go read it because you're writing about it,
Yeah,
rather
there's
than
so much
trying
to
to
get through
go
otherwise.
through. Right,
Yeah, totally.
right. So, Ezra, it has been a blast. We will have to do it again.
Yeah, this is fun.
Um, yeah, I know that I'm sometimes feel like I'm the weird podcaster because like I just wanted to feel like we're in the living room and we turned on a microphone.
Yeah. Well, next time I come through Chicago, I'll have to hit you up and we'll have to do a
Well,
in-person podcast.
absolutely. And I am hoping to get to the West Coast sometime in the next couple of years. So, and only the next couple of years because I'm on a like two teacher salaries. So like travel doesn't
Understandable.
happen a ton. But I have more and more people who will put me up in the LA area, so I don't have to pay to get there. And LA is one of the few places that you can generally find a like not ridiculously expensive flight into.
Yeah.
So so it could happen this summer. I could wind up
Well, let
hooking
me
you up and
know.
saying, "Hey, I'm staying with whoever."
Yeah.
Um,
Let's do a podcast episode.
or just have coffee
Or just have coffee.
or go to a comic shop. Like
Yeah.
so far I've only actually recorded one podcast live.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that was with Emil Ferris at
Oh,
Lion's Tooth in
amazing. Well,
Milwaukee.
that's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Emil's great.
Yeah.
Another Chicago transplant though. She moved out to Milwaukee.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
crazy. I never met Emil when I lived in Chicago the whole time. I only met Emil when we were both at a comics festival in Switzerland and we hung out a bunch in Switzerland. That's a pretty good
You
surreal
you
comics experience.
you could have met Emil the same day I met Emil, which was the same day I met you.
Was she tabling at Cake that year?
Yeah, she was at the Fantagraphics table at Cake that year.
Oh, no, well, actually, now that you say that, I might have like briefly just said hi, but I didn't actually have a conversation with her until we were in
Okay.
Switzerland.
Yeah, yeah. I actually managed, and I didn't even realize it for years afterwards. I had enough of a conversation with her that day that she actually remembered me all of the times that I emailed her afterwards.
Oh, that's
Because
amazing.
we'd been like, because she's a Cubs fan, so like, I mean, I'd sometimes just drop her. She made me promise to follow her on Facebook, so I did that, and then I occasionally just dropped like a note if there was a Cubs thing, and then during the pandemic, she complained that there was no baseball for her to draw to because she just put the game on and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and so I sent her links to like a dozen really good YouTube full games from history. It's like, well, here's this one and this one. I
Oh, that's
particularly like
cool.
this one. So,
That's
and she
cool.
remembered it all. So now
That's awesome.
she's still busy as hell and always traveling the world because, she wrote that book that everybody loves. To,
Yeah, that's that Rockstar Comics life.
yeah, there aren't many people who wind up living the Rockstar Comics life, but she's come, I think, as close as almost
Yeah,
anybody I know. It's weird.
yeah,
It's weird.
she
It's like
deserves it.
she's another person that I'll get together with when I'm in Milwaukee, and it's like half the time when I reach out to her, she's like, "I'd love to, but I'm in blank,
Yeah.
or I will be in blank." It's like, well, yeah, no, I can't sail across the ocean to have coffee. So, for Ezra Clayton Daniel, this has been 22 panels. Pick up Mama Came Callin in bookstores everywhere on Wednesday. And I'm going to emphasize bookstores everywhere because this is one that's probably going to be easier to find at your local Barnes and Noble than at your local comic shop. If you can get it at your local comic shop, please do. And any local comic shop people listening, get a HarperCollins account set up. Though Harper is working on setting up with Lunar, so keep your eyes open for it to pop up on Lunar. I just know it's not in this catalog. Um, Mama Came Callin. I read it last night. It's so good, Ezra. Um,
Thank you.
I can't wait to have the physical copy in my hand and really pour over it again. Hopefully sometime this week. Um, yeah, so for Ezra Clayton Daniel, this has been 22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.